Welcome to the blend.
We're back. I don't know why, but that just sounded like Anchorman to me, and I love it.
I get different. I try to not sound like anyone else whenever I say it, but I get vibes of other podcasts or shows.
Oh, well, it's good. I like when you kick off. It's a nice start.
Well, today we want to talk a little bit about competition in business and how important it is to look at your competitors when getting started, slash, if it is important, going to touch on all things like competitive landscape, share some stories we have about competing businesses. Lots there actually over the years.
Yes.
Which is exciting.
And in typical The Blend fashion, there are some stories that we've never shared that we are going to share that have happened over the years. So this is such a big topic. And before, when we were just catching up, it's crazy how there's different phases of really reviewing your competition before you start your business alongside. There's ways that we in our team have kept up with it, and it's a big discussion. Obviously, you really need to balance once you're fully operational and in the market producing revenue. What's your market share? How are you against competitors? And something we've been really starting to pay attention to this year is the digital scoring of our competitors against us, which that's been really interesting to get more into.
Yeah, and I think everyone has different opinions on how important it is to look at competition. And obviously, even when pitching to investors, that's usually one of the slides is a competitive slide. So you're pointing out, these are the competitors I'm aware of. This is how well they're doing. This is where I am in the market or my opportunity. So it is something that's important to know early on. I think it's wise to do your research and always be fully aware of who else is in there, who's trying to get the same clients as you, who's offering similar services or products to you. But my opinion is that you don't have to change your business, or there's a lot, like, you don't have to prioritize it as the top 3 things. I mean, certainly if there is a major competitor and you're trying to go up against them, that's going to be tough, and you should be aware of the opportunity that you have, if any. But when you're just getting started and there's a couple other companies that are just getting started as well in a industry, or that maybe no one has market share, I think you just gotta kind of keep your heads down and like keep going at it. Like, I don't think you need to get scared over every little thing someone kind of similar to you is doing.
Yes.
Maybe a hot take, but
I don't think so, because it is a balance, and we have to, I think some people can get hung up on the focusing on what competition is doing. I think more so it's focusing on how do you differentiate. It's important for you to know what's out there, but focus on what are you doing differently and how are you going about it. Because we have even found maybe just even the process of how we go to market is different enough, or what kind of customer we focus on, or how our platform or technology works. And I know it's a cliche example, but I always think about how Steve Jobs and Apple, someone has to be the leader, someone has to be the visionary in the market. They weren't thinking about who is our competition. They were thinking, let's compete against ourselves. And then there was other companies trying to always catch up and copy what they did. So I think in your own regard, you have to be heads down, like you're saying, put on the horse blinders, maybe a couple of times put your head up and make sure you're still on track. But especially when, I know we were really freaked out when we were first starting, that there were other adjacent companies that were raising more than us. Like, they were raising 5 million and we were raising 150,000. And now we have seen, wow, actually odds are if a new company is raising that amount of money from the gate in this kind of industry, they odds are spent a lot of the money in the wrong places where we had to really tinker and figure things out.
Yeah, and I think too, if anything, having some competitors is a good thing. That means that there's demand there if there's other people trying to do that. And I think too, if there's nobody, like if you can't find any competition, there might be a reason for that. Like maybe there's no one's actually willing to pay for this thing that you're doing. So I think you can even, I mean, there's some industries where people work with their competitors in a way, or you're like running into them a lot at the same events and you're very familiar with them. And like, it doesn't mean that there's not enough business to go around a lot of times too. Like I'm all about moving forward. Any technology that can help get entertainers booked and get paid, that's a win. Even if it's not going through us, we service a very specific niche person, like corporate event planners. There's a lot of people that wouldn't be an ideal client for us that one of our competitors can probably service better, and that's a win trying to move our industry forward.
I love that perspective. That is really cool. And it's true. I think we always try to find a way to say, can we partner versus compete? Because everyone wins if we have that mindset. I think in some industries it can be really cutthroat, but if you just shift the perspective, it becomes a win for all, or has the opportunity to. So I love your mindset there. That's also just a great reminder in general.
Two stories come to mind when thinking about this topic. One is crazy and it gets me fired up, which maybe we'll tell that second. But another one I just thought of as we were talking is way back when we did Project Music, there was a company, I think not in our same cohort. It was like the year after, but we like got to know each other just having done this accelerator, yes. The same one. And I remember this company like wanted to get it in writing that we were like not gonna ever pivot to do something kind of similar to them. They like wanted to like really work out that we weren't gonna go do public events or like focus more on venues. And we were like, we might. Like, sorry, if we do in the future, not like you're gonna deal with it, like you don't get to own this. And we were both so small at that time. Like, I mean, I'm sure they were maybe not even making any revenue. We were making for sure like less than $100K a year, definitely. Probably. And they were like trying to set out of like what this trajectory of our business is allowed to look like because we are like friendly with each other. And I'm like, dude, get away, like chill out.
Oh my God. I like put that out of my mind. Even when you were first telling it, I was like, who was this? But it just clicked. I remember now. And yes, also too, we have to have a whole episode one day on imposter syndrome and like how we have had to overcome that because
yeah, totally.
We were still in college at the time and like they were trying to put this agreement in front of us and technically started after us. We were like, what? Like we're just trying to figure this out. And yes, I do remember us being like, we might. And then guess what? 2 years later, they are not here anymore. They are not in existence.
Right.
And that was just the name of the game. Like these competitors would pop up and then they would go away or they would veer off and focus on something else. And it really has taught us, I think. Like even I've noticed sometimes our team will get really like we have a competition Slack channel just to like put things in. And I notice sometimes they're like, competition. And I think it's good that we're all paying attention. But I notice you and I are like, okay, cool. Let's like look into this, see what's up. But like just be mindful of it. Awareness is key.
Yeah, our mindset and attitude on competition has shifted so much over the years. We used to be that kind of scared and freaked out early on, and people would send us just the link of a company that does something kind of similar, like to warn us, and we would be like, oh my gosh, do we have to fully pivot our business? And now I'm like, don't even send me that. I could care less. We've been around long enough to where someone else existing doesn't mean we're going to fail. And if anything, like I said, I mean, come on. Hopefully there is enough business to go around. Like, get away from me.
That is so funny what you said about how like people will just send us those emails. It's so funny. It's the same every time, whether it's an investor or an advisor or just a community member. They will just like, there'll just be a link and they'll go, have you seen this?
Yes, exactly. No other context. I'm like, and then I'll click it. I'll be like, have you seen this? Because this isn't even the same. More often than not, it's nothing even close to us. And I'm like, you don't know what we do, obviously, if you think this is competition.
Facts. Yes. Oh my God. I feel like the last 3 that have been sent to me, I had to explain why we're not actually competitors. No, scratch that. The last 10. Like, people will send it to me, and I'm like, we don't do ticketing for public events. This is all this company does. Like, hey, maybe we can partner with them.
Right, exactly. I'm like, that we don't even touch that. And I get, yes, live entertainment. Okay, it all is in one bucket. But like, I think people think they're helping and like doing a favor. And I'm just like, ugh, I have to open this link now and like explain to you why it doesn't matter. Because it usually is an investor or someone that we have to be nice to, a stakeholder. Like, and I'm like, no, it's fine.
It's okay. It's okay.
I don't know how many times we've been compared to Firefest too. I mean, when that documentary was out and popular, that was a terrible time for us because everyone was like, wait, isn't this what you guys do? And I was like, honestly, kind of, but this is not great to see this guy just like blow this cash and like think that that's what we do.
Yeah, and it got misconstrued a little because like the app that he had, yes, very much so. But the Firefest, like, no, that is not what we do. And hey, actually kind of what we did in college, but not what we do now.
Yeah.
So that was tough too because everyone's just like, the festival, thinking about that. So that is rough.
Yeah. It is
I
rough.
think too, when you said like how over the years our mindset has changed with competition, I was trying to think about pinpointing the time where that really shifted. And I think I know, at least for me, when that happened. And it was through the pandemic because it was almost like the playing field got leveled and everyone had to survive, figure it out, evolve. And it really showed me that can happen at any time in an industry. And so many of our competitors left the market at that time. And that was crazy to witness and be a part of. Like companies that were trying to see if they could acquire us before the pandemic shifted, and then we're seeing if we would buy them post-pandemic. And it was just one of, I think, the craziest, fastest shifts I've seen in an industry. Obviously, anyone has. And then when we came out of that, we were like, oh, wow, we're kind of alongside some of these big competitors now that we felt were so far off in market share. That for me, I think I was like, okay, so this could happen at any time. So just like stay heads down and just be focused and build the business.
Right. Yeah, so true. I mean, stuff can happen so fast. Obviously, COVID, a big, unpredictable time that affected every business in a different way. Never can predict that. But even just the economy changes. Every year there's something different that's happening. And you don't know how it's going to affect your competitors or just your industry. So I think getting too worked up about having competition is not worth the time.
Amen. All right, let's tell the big story.
Yes, I'm ready. Oh my gosh.
We have not talked about this enough.
Honestly, this person needs to be put on blast. I don't even remember his name, but this was maybe a year and a half ago. or so, one of our stakeholders, who's a good friend, she's close with us, like we hang out, and just gives us a call on like a random Wednesday in the middle of the day. I'm like, huh, interesting. She's going to meet with somebody to potentially invest, like as an investor, like she's being pitched. And she sees the deck of this company, and they're literally using screenshots of our website and our product in their deck. And they just like Photoshop the URL to theirs, but it's literally the same colors. Like our logo has very distinct colors, and that's like the pink, the bright pink is still like in their deck. Screenshots of our website, and they're saying it's theirs and that it's like their live product. I can't even, like, I'm blown away still, even thinking that someone has the balls to do that.
Yes. And what was crazy is she actually went to our platform, looked up the exact profiles, and then she sent a side-by-side. Like, she did the digging for us. And it was just crazy because it's like, okay, I understand that you are trying to just like do a mock-up of what you're gonna do, but like literally, so a mock-up of us, and kind of in the reverse of like competition, like, yeah, we shouldn't be worried about this, but it's like, don't just copy, like do something different. Like there's AI to create something for you if you need.
Literally, free. Like,
insane.
How do you not think, also just in our community, how do you not think someone's going to notice that and like you're not going to get caught? We're not a big, like, we all know each other. Everyone in booking, entertainment, events, like in the same city. Come on, dude. Yeah. And then he proceeds to have us on his competition slide and like talk shit about us and be like, this is why I'm better than Eva. Oh, but I'm using their screenshots of their product. So.
And then like they edited the URL, they like pasted their logo over ours on all of the product shots. I was just like, oh my God, the gall. And you know, it just goes to show, I'm sure it's happening other places, just the odds of our investor seeing it and sending it to us. Which I'm glad she did. And then it was awkward because I remember typing up this intense email, and you and I were talking about it, and we were like, oh, God damn it. Like, we don't want to have to like get our lawyers involved. So like we just need to like craft, you know, an email basically of like, you need to
like a cease and desist.
Exactly.
But we're not going to pay our lawyers to even do it because now what? Like, if it costs us any amount of money for this, like sucks for us.
That's a loss. So I remember sending this really intense email, and they responded so fast. They're like, oh, so sorry, we never meant any harm. Duh. And it's like, yeah, dude, you cannot be doing that. That is, in our opinion, that's messed up.
That's so, I mean, we could have sued. We actually could have like really gotten this person in trouble, and obviously we own our IP. We own, like, our product is fully ours, duh. And you're not even trying to hide it, like, at all. It's like you could have changed the color or something, you know? Like, don't make it so obvious with our branding still on it. Like, dude, oh my gosh, that I get so mad even still just thinking about it. Like, what a dumb, like, how do you not think you're gonna get caught?
Blows my mind. And it's like, that stuff, it just, you know, I remember exactly where I was when she hit us up.
Same.
And it's just those things. That is the stuff that you just don't hear about with entrepreneurship. It's like, okay, I remember I was like at the post office in between meetings trying to mail something out, probably to you or something, you know, and then it's like I get that text in the parking lot and it's like my whole day is shot because now I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? You know, you got to just move over and get this figured out, which...
And now we have to handle it. Someone else's mistake and like someone else trying to mess with us is now has to be our priority of the day. Like, no, it's literally like when it's like getting a call from your kid's school, like, oh, Timmy slapped somebody in class and I'm going to have to fucking drive over there. Drop everything.
Timmy? Oh my gosh. And it's like, what do they say about copying, I guess, is a form of flattery, but we've even seen, it's kind of crazy, but we've seen some companies pop up and it's clearly just like a hack job website, and I don't think they're really launched, but the exact text from our website will be on theirs. And it's like, okay, what we are doing is not rocket science here. I am not the first going to be the one to say, like,
right.
What we're doing is beyond all. But the exact copy of what is on our site, really? I've seen that like 5 times.
I know, the same copy or even like similar branding, logos and stuff that are kind of the same. I'm like, that's not even what we're good at. I'm like, branding? I'm like, we've had that sentence on there for a long time and it is probably not even the best thing it could say. Like, the messaging on the website is by no means our strength and like the thing that should be copied, which just shows me, oh, okay, I guess people do look up to us in a way, or we have something to be proud of because if someone's willing to copy it. But I'm like, dude, yeah, like you said, use AI. Like, use these free tools to literally make anything else. I swear it's going to be better.
That's hilarious. Man, it is wild. Like, it's funny how we started out this episode just even talking about, like, external factors, looking at other competitors, and then really have shifted to, I think, competitors looking at us, which that's interesting. Didn't think we were going to get there.
No, well, and I always think I'm like, well, we're so small, no one knows about us. Like, no one's heard about us. Obviously, that's not true anymore. Yeah. Which is kind of a cool thing to realize. It's like, oh, people have heard of you that aren't your closest friend. That's kind of a cool thing to realize, that we have lots of clients, lots of partners all over the country, and people know about us who maybe don't even know how small we are. It is always interesting to see when we're engaging with somebody, an entertainer or a client or something that does not realize we're like such a small business. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
It is crazy. This is a random point, but I have noticed it more and more, which I love, but it's also like, oh, this is different. Is like, I've noticed more times than not, I'll get into an Uber, and granted, Nashville, everyone's, a musician or an artist. I'll get into an Uber and they'll just start chatting, asking what I do, and I'll start to tell them, and then it will like eventually come out, oh, what's the company? Eva. Oh, I'm on Eva. And I'm like, oh no. I'm like,
I know.
I'm like, that's great.
My first thought is, yeah, same. My first thought is also always like, oh God, are you
do you hate
like
us?
us?
Like, I'm sorry, we're trying, we're a small team.
That's happened to me too with entertainers. Yeah. Like, I have fully gone up to somebody at their show being like, you are so good, you should join my company. Eva does this, you should join and get bookings. They're like, I'm on there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I should know that then. Great, thanks for joining.
Thanks for being a part. Yeah, it's a different phase, so that has been a funny part.
Other things that come along with competition and people stealing from you is actually getting your things like trademarked, getting the IP for whatever your product, service, logo, colors, fonts, things like that. And that is such a pain as well. That has never been a fun experience, any of it, but it is important.
Nor the cost.
And yeah, no kidding. geez, I'm like so afraid of our IP attorney just to ask anything because it's an $800 email. I'm like, no. Well, I mean, obviously lawyers like are expensive just to communicate with them, but I think we're just so used to having like really friendly lawyers that have hooked it up for us in the past, where it's like we can call
and ask
them
a question,
and they're not gonna bill for minute, minute per minute on it, just asking something quick. And this IP attorney is not our boy, like is not the homie to where he's just gonna like help in 30 seconds. He's like, literally will respond to an email and then we'll get an invoice immediately. I'm like, oh, okay. Damn. So I basically can't talk to you. Cool, got it.
Yeah, especially with patents and provisional patents, man, that is a wild, wild west. Like, it's insane that people even have to expect to pay like $50,000 per filing a patent. And for us, we have been more focused on trademarking and how to be, most approved on that side. And that is even so difficult.
Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh. Just like whatever we actually got, Eva, the trademark, whatever wording we used to get that was so insane to get it. Because obviously there's other Evas out there. There's like a water bottle. There's an airline Eva. And it's also just a person's name. So obviously it's 3 letters. Like I'm surprised we even could get it. But we had to twist that phrasing so hard to get it to something that like wasn't taken. And it's still like not the best. It's such a pain.
What also freaks me out is we get so many fake scam renewals for trademarks. And so it'll be like, it's expiring in 10 days. And I'm like, oh God. And then I'm like, surely this is a scam. And then I'll send it to you and you're like, yeah, no. I'm like, okay, good. It's just, they make shit look so legit now. And it just,
I know.
Terrifying. I hate all of the legal aspects. That piece, I mean, you have managed that for us, which I am grateful.
No, it's annoying, but then it's done and like, okay, cool. Now I just have this thing now and I can never talk to my lawyer about it. But because it's going to be a lot of money. But yeah, no, it's such a pain. And even like, I think for us too, we're always like, when's the right time to get this thing trademarked or own it? Because like we said earlier, like we do feel so small that like, who's going to steal from us? But that's been the surprising thing of you're never really too small to be stolen from.
Exactly. I think that's the theme. It's worth it. Of course, it's such a balance when you're getting started and there's stepping stones, but it does make a lot of sense. Maybe putting your focus, yes, do your initial competitive landscape analysis. First, make sure there's competitors to validate your market. Really pay attention to what they're doing so you can focus on yourself and what is my differentiating factors. But then focus on how you can protect yourself. That seems to be the big lesson, of starting out, is get yourself set up, work with partners and team members you can trust on that, whether good lawyer, all the things, and then just build, just get after it and pick your head up every now and again and just survive. Yeah. I think we always say who is going to be successful at the end of the day is the last one standing. People that can sustain, survive, carry out, figure it out, evolve, all those things, and just last.
Retweet. Couldn't agree more. I love that. So true. I mean, half of it is just lasting. Like, not even that we're doing anything to go after competition or be better than or serve differently. It's just like, just focus on us staying alive and sustaining has gotten us so far. And we have outlasted many, many competitors.
Yes. It's
That's
crazy.
great.
I remember doing our very first competitive analysis the first year right before we launched. And I remember multiple companies. I was like, okay, from Crunchbase, they raised 5 million. They just raised 5 million. They just raised 7 million. And we had specifically raised a smaller round. And I was like, we're toast. And then they spent all that money in the wrong place and couldn't raise again because their valuation was too high and they couldn't do a down round. And who knows? And it is crazy
Right.
how, yes, sometimes I think we get self-conscious that we have taken a slower route, and maybe that's not typical to the unicorn status, but we also know what we are. We know what kind of business this is, and we're just trying to be realistic about that, and I think it's worked for us.
I agree. I love it. I think we're at our own pace, but it shouldn't have been anything else. I think if we went faster, we could have failed. If we went slower, too slow, we don't want to be too slow either. So I like the pace that we've found ourselves at. And of course, it's because we're learning along the way. This is our first time doing it. So that's just how it's going to be. And that's worked out for us so far.
Absolutely. I've found myself saying sometimes and joking when I'm meeting first potential investors, they want to hear like the genesis of the story and the timeline. I sometimes joke with them that I was like, yeah, the first few years, honestly, we were just trying to figure out how to be adults and run our business. Like, we
So true.
graduated and then here we were full time with no boss, no framework, just like, how do we do this and have employees?
Yeah, 100%.
So we got there. I have loved
so.
talking about this. This has brought up some really big laughs for me. You are so funny. And oh my God, these stories. Wow.
Oh my gosh, you can't even believe it sometimes, but we live another day.
Indeed. I'm sure we'll have more stories next time.